Hey guys, welcome to my first bike episode, and if you can see behind me, there's a sneak peek at what I'm up to. Now, long and short of it is, I've had the crave to off-road big bikes for the past 2 or 3 years. Not very good at it, not something that I've really done a lot of, but I've got to the point where I've committed to something. Now, behind me is my 2021 Super Adventure S, which I bought 2 years ago, brand new. And I've done 4,800 miles on it since I bought it. And if you look just next to that is a 23 plate Super Adventure R. So I'm doing a bit of a comparison between the two. I've actually purchased the Super Adventure R, and the reason I'm so disgustingly minging at the moment and sweaty is because I'm currently swapping over all of my off-road bits onto the Super Adventure R, as I plan to get a little more serious about off-roading a Super Adventure R in the next couple of days and maybe a couple of weeks. But I'm going to off-road that, and I'm going to do a bit of a comparison between the two, as I've owned this one for 2 years, I've travelled Europe on it, I've done an awful lot, and this one is brand new to me. The initial impressions, the 7 or 8 miles that I did back, I couldn't tell any difference whatsoever on the R compared to the S, but I'm sure that will change. I've actually started videoing part way through this, as I decided that I was going to do a episode or some content on both bikes. So I started recording part way through the strip down. I've got a full set of Moti bars, which I'm currently taking off the S and putting onto the R. Now, as you can see, I actually also purchased the spoked wheels and put some Anarchy Wilds on it. Now, initially, when I started off-roading this big bike, I couldn't get on with it. Could not work out how to make it, good off-road, or whether it was me and what I'd realised was it was me. So long and short of it is, I've spent a lot of time off-roading on enduro bikes and trials bikes in the past year, and actually when I got back on that and went off-road, the S, it was far, far better off-road than I probably am, and I got on really well with it. So off-roaded it a couple of times more since then, and then decided actually I probably should swap to the more off-road focused R version. Now, both of these bikes have come from Whole Shot Motocross and Enduro, and they're over in Salisbury. A good friend of mine owns that business. So if you're looking for either of these bikes, that's probably a good place to start, because the guys will look after you. They always look after me. I've bought every bike I've owned in the past 2 years from Whole Shot, and I've always had a really good dealer experience. So I think for main dealer road bike stuff, I can't think of a better place. I've tried all the other dealers, but I'm very happy at the moment. I've got to say, first impressions, the orange S is a far better colour scheme in my opinion. I know that's subjective. I know some people will say that the white is better. I like the subtleness of the orange and black. I think it goes quite well. As you can see there, 21, 23. Now, subtle differences that I've worked out and obviously done a lot of research like most people are the Explore 48 forks and the rear shock are non-electronic. So that's the difference between the R and the S. A lot more travel, I believe, as well on the R. Second difference is the adaptive cruise control. That's a biggie, that the S has adaptive cruise control and the R just has normal cruise control. Then the other thing is that the wheel sizes. Obviously you all know that the R comes with an 18-21 wheel configuration and that the S comes with a 17-19. Now, I don't know how much difference this will make, but every off-road big bike that I've ever ridden that had a 21-inch front wheel felt better off-road. So I'm hoping that as soon as this bike's ready to go, I'm going to take it off-road and it's going to have that initial feeling that all the other bikes I've ridden off-road had. I'm really hoping that it's as good as, I've ridden recently a Norden 901, very, very good bike, but I do feel as though it was lacking a little bit on the road, and a Ducati Desert X, which was a fantastic bike, and I think that was probably a step up from the Norden, to be honest. I think that was sort of in between the Norden and this. But so far, none of them really had what I was looking for, so I thought I'd stick with what I know. I spent a lot of money on mods on that, and I'm curious as to whether or not, the big thing for me is whether or not that wheel configuration will fit on the R. Because what I'd like to do is have a set of Pilot Road 6s on those smaller spoked wheels off the S, on those in the summer. So my idea would be that this feels very similar on the road at the moment to the S. So I'm going to just start swapping bits over, and before I forget where all the bolts go, I better get on with it. So as it stands at the moment, this is the current shape. I have just started bolting on one side of the black bars, taking off the orange bars. So I'll get back to it as soon as I've swapped over some more bits. So guys, welcome back to day 2 I finished up last night and really couldn't stomach much more of this. So 3 hours in last night in swapping bits over, and I'm at this point now. I've got a bit of a confession to make. Yesterday, when I picked the R up, I really didn't like the way it looked. It was the white, I think the white colour scheme really didn't do it for me. I really was sat here last night for probably half an hour before starting to swap bits over, thinking I really prefer the S, the look of the S. The other thing I noticed as well is that riding the S from my house, which isn't very far away, sort of bouncing on the suspension and getting used to it, I couldn't feel any difference again. So I'm hoping that today highlights some differences. I know that the mode selection on this is going to make a big difference, but the beauty is this morning I've come in and I'm actually swaying a little bit more towards the R. And I think the thing for that is the fact that I've actually put some of my own bits on it. I think the customization of it and kind of making it look a bit different, I'm starting to enjoy the look of it, and the white actually isn't a problem anymore. So I'm hoping that all these bits kind of changed over are going to make it a little bit more my bike, and I'm hoping that the suspension and everything else that the R has is going to be so incredibly different off-road that I notice the difference. Because at the moment I don't think there being no differences is a bad thing, because on the road I haven't noticed any differences, which I think is actually probably quite a good thing, because that means that on the road as a touring bike, which I still do a lot of, the R is probably going to feel equally as good as the S did. And I'd like to think that by the time I've swapped the tyres over, that potentially the R would feel exactly the same. With the Road 6s that I have on it, would be quite a nice thing, I think. So this is where I'm at today. I've got a couple of bits left to do. I've got the rear rack on this side left to do to fit for the luggage. But otherwise I'm mostly there. Now this bike, and obviously this isn't normal circumstance, you don't normally get the opportunity to have both bikes next to each other. I haven't bought both. Whole Shop were good enough to let me take the new one and swap over all the bits while I still owned the part exchange old one. So I part exchanged this and took advantage of their £2,000 off deal. At the moment, the only subtle differences are this bike has a tech pack and this bike doesn't. And the reason for that is I wasn't even totally sure how often I use the features on the tech pack. I definitely have never used the rally mode. I've been off-road a lot of times and I find that just flicking into off-road is more than enough for me, that it kind of changed the bike enough that I could play around on it. So I'm going to see how I get on with that without a tech pack. And chances are, because I'm that way inclined, I'll probably get a tech pack on that as well. At least the quick shifter. That was the very first thing I noticed that I missed, was the quick shifter and auto blipper. So that is a definite, that's happening regardless. But we'll work out the tech pack thing in a bit. Now this bike, I'm hopefully going to take this back this afternoon. And they're going to potentially put this up for sale at Yeovil, I believe. Now I deal typically with Salisbury. That's where this bike came from, is Whole Shot in Salisbury. This one will probably go to their used bike sales in Yeovil, I guess, and will be available in the next week or so. And if anybody's interested in the low mileage, well looked after S, admittedly it's dusty now, but I literally off-roaded it the day before I started swapping over. This bike has been meticulously looked after, so it's a great bike. If you need to know anything, just call. It's got a couple of R bits on it now. It's obviously got the R screen, because I don't like the R screen, I don't like the look of it. And it's also got the R single seat. Otherwise, completely standard. So I've taken all of my aftermarket bits and put them on that. Now, I've got to go and get a couple of bits done as well, I suppose, like the electronic options. I've got to get the heated grips turned on this. The Akrapovic map, or Akrapovic, however people say it. Got to get the map done for the exhaust, and the heated seat also needs to be programmed. So we'll see how that goes. I suspect I'm probably going to end up buying the tech pack at the same time, but we don't need heated seats or heated grips at the moment. The next trip I've got planned is Norway. Otherwise, it's just get the 600 miles done as quickly as possible to get the first service done, and then I'm going to go out and probably do a bit more exploring of maybe the NC 500 and then Norway. So I'll let you know very soon what this is actually like to deal with. Now these wheels and tyres, the 18-inch and 21-inch wheels, they're going to have some pretty aggressive off-road tyres on it. I'm sort of veering more towards the TKC 80s or maybe the EO7 Mitas, but I'm unsure at the moment. And then the 17-19 combo that's on this, I'm going to put my Michelin Pilot Road 6s on and try and fit them to that bike. So I've yet to find a single comparison video actually that fits a 17-19 combo on this bike. So I'm hoping that maybe KTM have missed a trick there, because they don't sell a 17-19 combo in wheels for that bike. So if it all fits, I'll put a list of everything I use. These wheels are the KTM R Comp wheels. And if all that fits on the R, that's going to be pretty cool. That, I mean, that I'll have a usable set of second wheels. I think I'm going to have to change the front mudguard to obviously drop that a little bit, but otherwise I can't see a great deal of difference. So I'm hoping that all that stuff just swaps over, and that's kind of the end of it. And it'd be nice to have a set of road tyres and super aggressive off-road tyres. But we'll see how we get on. Another hour or so I should be done, and I'll come back and give you an update. So guys, I found something different. I haven't come up with a theory yet as to why it's different, but it's different. So taking my heated grips off, pretty standard procedure. Pull the bar ends out, nothing out of the ordinary. But on the R, I undid the bar end, it didn't come out straight away, and inside the bar is this weight. Now, I wonder if this is something to do with the wheel wobble. Now, I forgot to mention I've actually owned an R before, but it was an early version. It was I think it might have been like a 2017, 2018. And I remember if you let go of the handlebars, it used to wobble like crazy. And I thought it was something to do with the 21-inch wheel. But what would happen is, if you left it, it would probably turn into a tank slapper. I wonder if this is KTM's solution. It's quite weighty, it weighs a fair amount. It's probably made out of pure gold by the looks of it. Being KTM and everything, but yeah, that was in there. So I wonder if anybody knows what that's for. It'd be interesting to find out. But yeah, that was the only thing that's been different so far on this whole escapade. So here we are, guys. Sorry, there was a bit of a jump from the finishing video to the clean video, but I just had to give it a quick wash. It's now completely back to standard, and this is the end of my journey with the S. So I've dropped it back off at Whole Shot in Salisbury, and they're going to have their wicked way with it, and the comparison videos will start again on the R. One thing I did notice actually is that having put the road tyres back on this was considerably better on the road than the R was. So I think that the comparison I had in my mind was I had the Anarchy Wilds on this before, and comparing this on Anarchy Wilds against the 1290R on the road tyres it comes with, they're quite similar. So on the road tyres, this bike is far, far superior on the tarmac, that's for sure. But I think we can recreate that with the 1790 wheel combination that I'm going to put on the R at a later date. So guys, that's it. Get on down to Salisbury Whole Shot and get yourself a road bike. Ben, what were we just saying about a discount code?
Discount code. So, well,
so
it's not
my special discount code is Fox10, yeah?
We can't sell it yet because we haven't made it. So
well, no, hang on.
No,
Bill, you heard him say it, didn't you? That if anybody comes in and quotes the discount code Fox10,
Fox10 means we'll put 10% on top of the retail
they get 10% added to any retail price in the shop. Why'd you ruin every video, Ben, with your smut talk? We're like a grown-up YouTube channel, and you're smut talking me.
Oh, I can't help it.
What are we saying? Are we saying Fox10, Ben?
Fox10 is 10% added, yeah.
10% added.
Yeah.
It's actually 10% off. I'll include the discount code in the link. You can come in and basically, so long as Ben's not here, anybody will let you redeem that.
I hate Andrew Fox. We'll discount again. So.
Bill, you see what he's doing to my video, Bill? He's being proper horrible, isn't he?
You ruined my video, so you've got to get back. The stuff you were saying, mate, just couldn't be published, otherwise we would have all been arrested. So I've got to give you back the taste of your own.
Jordan's in full support of Fox10, isn't you, Jordan?
He touched me.
Full support.
He touched me. What? He touched me. What's that, Dean?
Shut up, Bill. Just tripped over the fucking sign. I did like my video the other day. By the way, these are the boys. These are the boys I was talking about. So they've done me this saucy deal. This is obviously a Whole Shot in Salisbury. They've done me this saucy deal on that 1290 that I've just done the video on. Here's the main guy. This is like the top manager. He's like basically the owner, isn't he?
He gives out free hand jobs for bikes.
Well, these are the guys I was talking about. So if you're interested in KTM road bikes or Kawasaki or kind of anything really, this is what they do. Yeah, come on in.